internet quite a bit later, I focused towards two main things: free-to-play MMOs and small free-to-download games. And three always come to mind when I think about some of the earliest I played.
Bonesaw, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to forget you. Can you ever forgive me? No, I need to fix this myself. This time, I won't let you down.
So last time, as you saw, when I was talking about free downloadable games, I mentioned three in particular. Well, there was actually 4 games I played in that era, and I'm kind of surprised I forgot about this one. So to make up for that, and just because I fancy playing it anyway, today we're going to be looking at Bonesaw. Bonesaw the game is a free indie game that came out in 2008. Of course, when you hear Bonesaw, you might be thinking of this, or maybe of this. Well, funnily enough, both of these things are relevant to the game. Yes, especially this one.
I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of time!
It's a platformer beat-em-up, advertising itself to be tough as nails, to give you a real challenge. Well, we'll see about that, won't we? The story is as follows. You play in a hockey team. You're receiving a sweet pep talk from your coach as you're getting ready for the next game, when all of a sudden... Who is that?
Me, Mr. Referee!
The referee is fed up with the players always treating him poorly, so using a mysterious power, he banishes the entire team. Of course, you were off doing something, and you happen to return just after the events. And it's now your job to hunt down the referee and save your teammates. After that, the game gives you a brief explanation on the basics of combat and platforming. And overall, the controls are simple enough. You have a normal jump, you have a slightly shorter jump, and you can beat people up. The game has 30 levels to go through, and the starting island is actually a really nice introduction to how the game feels and what you should expect from it. Each set of levels has its own theme, similar to how Mario does it, though overall they do have the same basic structure, being kind of blocky in that. And as you progress through the levels, the game will introduce new gimmicks. Things like buttons you have to press that become timed later, bumpers and springs, as well as the worst mechanic, putting the ball into the socket. God, this one drives me crazy. And of course, the difficulty ramps up as you progress, but oh boy, when they mention this being a tough game, they are not kidding. The platforming becomes incredibly dangerous, and they have enemies that can take huge chunks of health off, and later they're not afraid to add obstacles that will kill you instantly. And there are even special stages which have increased difficulty, though that is for another reason, which I'll get into a bit later. Basically what I'm saying is expect to see the game over screen a lot. You'll most likely want to fight the enemies within the stages, and of course with the enemies being very aggressive and their attacks being very damaging, you might want to take advantage of the 2 other things the game offer you. In certain parts of the game you can find weapons, which of course are hockey sticks, and you can find 2 types. Slasher, which is more close range but does extend your hitbox a little bit, or Cutter, which you can throw out like a boomerang. Each one has its advantages and disadvantages. The long range is pretty good at taking out flying enemies, but its usefulness overall ends when you get too close to the enemy, so I tend to go for the close range weapon a lot more, but it really comes down to what you need in the moment. Now there is one aspect where the long range benefits, but I'll get into that a bit later. The last thing the tutorial touches on is this red meter that fills up as you fight enemies. This is what I refer to as the Bonesaw Meter, because when it's filled, you get the power to summon the almighty Bonesaw, a powerful weapon that only your hockey team has the ability to wield, a weapon of immense power. This thing is ridiculous and can kill every enemy pretty much instantly. When activated, the Bonesaw drains your meter slowly, that's your time limit. 2 special moves to note is a jumping spin attack as well as a shockwave projectile. It's also worth noting that the Bonesaw ignores any armor or blocking that the enemy is doing. Seems pretty ridiculous, right? Well, it is, but it does take a while for the Bonesaw meter to fully charge. It also has a tactical use, because while activated, your health does regenerate as well. So I often find myself using it to be able to regenerate health as well as attack enemies, mainly because I don't want to lose a life. But that's the main structure of the game. You play the game and then you win the game. That's where I was going with that. Good fucking job, me. Okay, let's talk about the difficulty a bit more, because honestly, it gets a little ridiculous. Now, thankfully, it's not as punishing as the games of old. You do have lives in this game, and losing a life just makes you restart the current room you're in, but losing all of them requires you to restart the level. So not the worst thing ever, but damn, I could imagine some people struggling later on, especially with all the instant kill laser beams, as well as the many bottomless pits in this game, which no doubt enemies will knock you into in some manner. In terms of bad difficulty though, there's always one thing that comes to mind, and it's the fact that enemies can hit you mid-combo. You're smacking away as fast as you can doing a combo and you're still hit by the enemy somehow, and that can become a big problem later on with these enemies that have huge attacks. It doesn't feel like it's working as it should, but when it does work as intended, even then the bosses are gonna beat the crap out of you. These are fairly good tests of your skill to progress. After each island, you're presented with a boss, usually related to the theme of the area or the enemies you've been seeing. Now the first boss, fairly simple, and it kind of sets the standard for what you should expect from these bosses. They can't be hurt at just any time. They have to do a specific attack, or you have to react to an attack in a certain way for them to become vulnerable. Often if you try to attack them without them being vulnerable, they just hurt you, and they hurt a lot. Again, even with the bosses, this game seems to like to ramp up the difficulty with just ways of killing you instantly, which happens in the bosses only a few times thankfully, but there are still a lot of obstacles to get in the way. But hey, think back, do you remember what I said about the Bonesaw? This thing is ridiculous and can kill every enemy pretty much instantly. Oh yes, you know exactly what that means. Tired of these bosses just blocking all of your moves and taking forever to defeat normally? Just use the Bonesaw and kill it in 2 seconds. And you might be thinking, what's the point then? I can just go and charge the Bonesaw and bring it with me to this tough boss. That's right, you can do that, but the game would actually punish you in ways that you might not think about, at least not right away. In the first stage of the game, pretty early on, you get introduced to the collectible of the game, the golden puck. So much of this game revolves around this collectible. There are 3 in every stage, and I mean every stage, boss stage included. Now at first they're pretty easy to get. A lot of the time they are just kind of tucked away and you have to jump onto a specific out-of-the-way platform to get them. But as you can probably see coming, with the difficulty of the levels increasing, the difficulty of getting the pucks increases as well. Some of them requiring you to have ridiculously good timing, or the use of a ranged weapon to hit something tucked away, which is why you need the cutter sometimes. And that's why in general, weapons can vary in usefulness. Yeah, but what's the Bonesaw got to do with this? Well, a puck in particular requires you to beat the boss without the Bonesaw. If you want all of them, you're gonna have to beat the boss with skill. So what are they for? Well, collecting golden pucks actually increases the speed that your Bonesaw meter fills up. That was actually something I didn't know back when I played it when it was new. But not only that, if you get a certain amount, there are hidden levels throughout the map that require a certain amount of pucks to enter. These stages are easily the hardest challenge in the game. They are tough. This is really where having to start the level over again is the most punishing, which sucks even more when you realize that these special stages also have golden pucks on them. Now, I've said the game can be hard a few times now, but I honestly think that the golden pucks in the special stages are where the game becomes bullshit, especially in the third hidden stage where certain jumps just do not feel doable. It is doable because I fucking did it, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't that fun kind of challenge. Instead of finishing and thinking, yes, I did it, instead I thought, oh, thank God that's over. But again, this is only if you're going for 100%, and it isn't necessary to get all the golden pucks to beat the game. That being said, if you get a handful of golden pucks on your journey, I do recommend going through at least 1 or 2 of these special stages. Going through the stage and beating the boss at the end, which, by the way, looks like someone's been playing too much Zelda, will grant you a strength upgrade, a general buff, I I believe. It doesn't really tell you in statistics, but it will generally just increase your power, which may help you out in the future levels. It also does explain a bit more why the referee wants to get rid of your team, because when the Bonesaw was created, the Anti-Saw was also created, and to fully harness the power of the Anti-Saw, he needs to get rid of all of the Bonesaw users. Yet, even the final boss has pucks to get. And you know, since we're on that topic, let's talk about the final boss some. Man, this fight sucks. In terms of the fight itself, it's mechanically interesting. It's really fun, and it offers a legitimate challenge. It just takes way too long. He has such a big health pool, and being able to actually attack him can be a pain as well, as you have to take out his little guardian drones to even damage him. And that can be a right pain in the ass, especially because when he goes to his second form, he has a laser beam attack which you can direct, and if you direct it in the wrong way, it pretty much instant kills you and you have to start the fight over. Honestly, I feel like this fight would have been 10 times better if he just had half of his health pool. But that's why I recommend you at least go through 1 or 2 of those golden puck stages so you can level up your attack a bit. Going through this game again made me realize something. It's really fun, but they were not lying when it comes to what the challenge is, to a point which kind of sours the last quarter of the game. I'm actually pretty sure now that I never beat it when I played it originally, because I really don't remember anything in the last set of stages. But this game easily has a lot of positives which outweigh the negatives. It is really fun, it controls really well, and for people who are looking for a challenge, you'll find it here. But can I also say that the music in this game is top tier, and you can download it, the entire album, for free as well. It was the only thing keeping me sane in those attempts after attempts to get those fucking golden pucks in X3. I highly recommend a download. So yeah, that was Bonesaw. It's been really nice to come back and play the game after so long, and I do recommend you try it out. It is free after all, so there's no harm in giving it a go. I'm actually surprised it was a game I forgot about when I was mentioning the other indie titles, especially considering I enjoy its music so much. But hey, have any of you played Bonesaw? I'd love to know what you think and how you did with it. I don't see that many people talk about it, so maybe it was more unknown than I thought. Either way, I'd love to know what you think. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Pixelated Memories, and I'll see you next time. What? Why did the final boss drop pucks? That's true, actually. Why did he drop pucks? You'd think the extra power would be to beat that boss, right? So, if it's not, there isn't more. Is there? People who often explore the levels will notice something very peculiar on level 1. Right from the get-go, you've been able to see a block which will take you to a weird-looking door to an area you can't do anything in. But collecting all of the golden pucks allows you to go through the barrier. This will lead you to a unique special area which always keeps your Bonesaw Meter charging. The Bonesaw's energy has energized whatever creatures lived here to become immune to the Bonesaw's instant kills. And as you go through one final level, you come across the true final boss, Wyck. Wait, who even is this? I don't even know who this is. As far as I know, the game doesn't exactly explain who Wyck is or why he's here. He's just there to kind of be like the, hey, you can beat me, then you're a master at this game, congratulations kind of dude. He is a pretty tough fight, although I actually had more trouble with the normal final boss than I did this one. His moves hit a lot harder and a lot faster than anything you've seen in the game, which is fine because you're constantly regenerating health. He also borrows moves from every single boss you've fought so far. Beating this will give you a black outfit, which increases your defense as well as gives you passive health regen. But since this is the last challenge in the game, there's not really anything you can do with that, so it's just a nice thing. Okay, we're actually done this time. There's nothing else to do in the game. Well, there are some secret rooms that reference other indie games, but they're really not important to the overall story and are just a cool thing. Good luck finding them, I found like 2. But again, I do hope you enjoyed this episode of Pixelated Memories, and I'll see you next time. Take care, and goodbye. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode of Pixelated Memories. Next time I'll be stepping back from indie games to go for something a lot older on the PC. But I'd like to take this chance to thank my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And if anyone would like to do so, link in the description. Don't forget to give this video a like, it does help out, it really does. And if you want to check out more stuff, you can always check out any of the 2 videos up there or any on my channel. Subscribe to be notified and ring the bell for that extra special, warm, fuzzy feeling. Follow me on Twitter as well. And I'll see you next time. Take care and goodbye.